Let's imagine you're a programmer fresh out of college. You decided you wanted to major in web design, so you spent the last 4 years of your life mastering everything possible related to web design. So you spent the next year of your life freelancing as you didn't want to take the traditional path of getting a career, getting a job. You take up odd jobs here and there, but you never end up making any real money. Fast forward a few months, and there's a new tech company starting up in your area. And luckily for you, they're looking for a web developer to build a website for them. You're in desperate need of some money, and they're willing to pay big if you can get the job done. As you're about to hit send, you stop yourself and begin to doubt whether or not you have the experience to get the job done. You begin to question whether or not you have a chance. Even if you did get the job, would you even be able to complete it correctly? Rather than send that email, you let it sit in your drafts and just collect dust, and you go back to taking jobs that you're comfortable with. What you didn't know, however, is that you would have been the perfect man or woman for that job. You let your fear get the best of you and stop you from getting one of the best achievements of your life. And that leads me to the topic of this video. Action is infinite times better than inaction. Taking the story from earlier as an example, sending that email would have been a lot better for you than to simply continue taking the jobs that you were comfortable with. If you had taken that job, you would have had your first big gig. You would have gained experiences that would have propelled you to even greater heights. And even if you failed to get the job done correctly, that experience in itself would have made you a better person in the future. But by simply sticking to what you're used to, you stunted your growth. You halted your progression in the game of life. Like Wayne Gretzky once said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Imagine what would have happened if you had sent that email, had you taken that risk. And I feel like the reason that most people don't take action is because of fear. Whether that fear is through the form of rejection or just the fear of failure. They're afraid of failing to do the task that they were assigned, so they don't even attempt. They're afraid of living up to their potential, so they settle for where they're at right now. Or maybe they're afraid of being rejected, so they never talk to that girl. Or they never walk up and speak to that potential business partner. Or they never end up reaching out to that potential client. And the funny thing about these fears are you're the only one who's going to remember this outcome. Most people are self-centered. They're only focused on themselves. If they reject you or they see you fail, they're only going to think about it for a day or two. After that, they'll go back to wondering what they're going to have for dinner later today. You're the only person who gets stuck on your own mistakes and failures. Only those who are really close to you will have some recollection of what happened. And in most cases, that isn't even a problem. And think about it. You can't grow as a person if you don't take action. You can't gain experience if you don't have any experiences. Inaction traps you in this negative feedback loop. So you plan to do this thing and you don't do the thing. You're afraid. Your brain registers that you didn't do the thing. And so it tells itself, maybe I just can't do the thing. So when you try and do the thing again, your brain remembers what happened last time, and now it's harder for you to do it this time. And then the cycle repeats, and it just gets harder and harder to do it every time you don't. This cycle continues indefinitely until you just take that action. On the flip side, if you do take that action, the possibilities for growth are endless. Even if you fail, your brain registers that you attempted to do it. It then goes through the situation, it runs it back, and it tries to derive methods that it can use to succeed next time or do better next time. Then, when you have the chance to do it again, you take that action. And this process keeps repeating, and you keep refining that action until you're eventually so skilled at it that it just becomes natural for you. Mark Manson's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, provides some pretty useful insight on this topic, and I recommend giving it a read if you haven't already. In his book, he talks about a concept called analysis paralysis, which is essentially a condition where you get stuck thinking about the possibilities and the what ifs, and you do that so much to the point where you just never take that action. He argues that rather than getting stuck in this analysis paralysis, we're better off realizing what truly matters to us and taking actions towards those values. If you want to get better at sales, take every opportunity you can to send cold emails or go on cold calls, send people DMs, or actually go talk to people in person, door to door. Don't get stuck on the what ifs. If you want to improve at talking to women, go outside, go do things in your everyday life and take opportunities to speak to women. Now, I'm going to share two stories with you guys that have to do with the topic of action versus inaction. And although they both have to do with my experiences regarding women, the principles used can be applied to anything in your life. So a while ago at my local gym, as I was working out, I saw this really attractive girl that I hadn't seen there before. I wanted to talk to her, but I was too afraid to just go up and say anything. So I decided I would just sit back and wait for the perfect chance for to strike up a conversation. So I went back, focused on my workout and hoped we ended up in the same place at some point. Eventually, she just ended up leaving, and I never got the chance to speak with her. I can clearly remember how stupid and regretful I felt after that, and wishing that I had just said hello or something. Now, for my other story, significantly earlier than that, in my first period gym class, I saw this Hispanic girl who I thought was cute that I hadn't noticed before. I wanted to chat her up, so after we finished our exercises for the day, I got up out of my seat, walked over to her, sat down, introduced myself, and we started having some small talk. I ended up getting her info and then leaving, and I can vividly remember how happy I felt, how proud I felt of myself after I had done that. I could barely even focus on class. That's how elated I was after it happened. The first story, I got caught in analysis paralysis. I was too stuck on thinking about the possibilities and the what ifs that I never ended up talking to the girl. Second story, I simply got up, took the action, talked to her, and didn't think too much of it. With all of that in mind, I've created a simple framework that you can follow that can help you take action in the future. First of all, you have to realize that most people don't care about you as much as you think. Try to recall the last time you've seen somebody fail at something or get rejected. Difficult, right? Because your brain didn't put much emphasis on the event, as it didn't really have anything to do with you. It's the same for everybody else around you. If they aren't focusing on your failures, why should you? Secondly, you have to embrace failure as a part of the learning process. You have to learn from your mistakes so you can make better choices in the future. Without failing, you have no background knowledge to go off. You have no knowledge of what works and what doesn't because you haven't gone outside and taken action to figure it out. You have to fail in order to succeed. Thirdly, identify what your goal is and take the most simple action you can towards getting there. It's the key to starting your mental engine, to getting that action started. So if you're trying to talk to this girl, just walk in her direction. If you want to gain that potential client, just open your email and put them in your senders list. Want to break from the ads? Get Spotify Premium. Finally, use a mental jumpstart to get over the fear of taking the action itself. Personally, I've started to use a tactic that I developed when working out to take action in other areas. A while ago, I noticed that when I had to do Romanian deadlifts for my leg day, I would spend a lot of time just standing around, standing over the bar, trying to hype myself up to get this exercise out of the way. One day, I simply got into a position, put my hands on the bar, and I just counted to three. And on three, I would just lift it up and, get the exercise over with. So I then realized I could apply this same concept to other areas, and it's helped me take action in doing different things. So you could, use my framework, count to three, or you could, count down from 10, or you could take 5 breaths, but do something that kind of jumpstarts your mind and just forces you to take that action. I encourage you to apply this framework in your everyday life whenever you feel yourself hesitating to take an action. Remember, taking action is infinite times more better than not. Embrace the power of taking risks and pursuing what you want. By overcoming fear and taking action, you can lead a fulfilling life, improve relationships, and achieve your greatest dreams. If you have any of your own experiences that you'd like to share with taking action or the lack of it, you can leave them in the comments below. Let's put our heads down and let's put the work in. We out. Mwah.